Well, let's talk taxes. As the legislative session draws to a close on April 25th, it appears majority Democrats are determined to pass a capital gains tax. What are your concerns with their proposal?
My biggest concerns is, quite frankly, it's an income tax. The Department of Revenue, the IRS, 49 other states all consider this an income tax. And worst of all, it's going to be a foot in the door to a broader statewide income tax that's going to affect every single one of us. Democrats have argued over and over again that Washington State has one of the most regressive tax systems, but the reality is that that regressive tax system was created over decades from their party because we've had unbalanced government. The executive branch has been controlled by Democrats. The House and Senate have, for the most part, been controlled by Democrats. So this regressive system was their creation. And what we need to do is we need to reshape our tax system. We can make it more fair, but to make it more fair, to make it less regressive, we need to cut taxes, provide relief for working families and small businesses and those overburdened communities. Sadly, the Democrats in the majority have placed a clause in this income tax bill that would eliminate the public's opportunity to have a voice and to have their voices heard and their opinions on whether or not they want an income tax or not. They've voted repeatedly against it. That's because, one, it's unpopular. Over 10 times an income tax has been on the ballot and it's been rejected. It's unnecessary because our state has plenty of revenue and federal funds to accomplish the goals that we set out in all of our budgets. And the income tax is unconstitutional. Although we haven't heard from our state Supreme Court on this particular bill and issue, they've repeatedly said that an income tax, a graduated tax, is unconstitutional. So for those reasons, I'm opposed to the income tax.
This was your first legislative session as a state representative. Looking back at it, how would you describe the 2021 session?
It's been difficult, unusual, and impersonal, to say the least. Never in the history of our state has the legislature operated remotely. From the time of our territorial legislature, when they met in a small building in Olympia, to today, where we have a beautiful Capitol and Capitol campus, both parties have worked side by side in committee rooms, across the aisle, on the floor, and being together has that great atmosphere of collaboration and communication. I've said over and over again that I sometimes feel like the art of communications and collaboration is dying on the vine, and it doesn't have to be. But when we separate ourselves from those who may think differently, ultimately we're not going to reach an agreement on the things that we do appreciate and value together. None of that collaboration, communication on a personal level has happened this year, and it's made it difficult for the Republican Party minorities to be heard. It made it difficult to move forward on legislation that's really important to the 20th District, Southwest Washington, and a lot of rural areas. So all our conversations have been on a screen or on telephone, and we're not unique. It's happening with a lot of different businesses and families, but we need to change that. Staying behind a computer for 12 to 17 hours a day is not productive. So for passive participation, if you want to watch the legislature, you can log on to tvw.org, you can go to ledge.wa.gov, and that's great. You can see what's happening. But for active participation, to really work with your colleagues and to contact people on a personal basis and advocate for things that are important to your community, it's been really difficult, and I hope that changes.
What good things were accomplished during the legislative session?
Well, it's been an honor to be the assistant ranking on the House capital budget. The capital budget supports construction, acquisition, and maintenance of public schools, higher education facilities, state buildings, public lands, parks, and it goes on and on. It requires a supermajority, meaning that the parties have to communicate, they have to collaborate and work together. And this construction budget's nearly a $6 billion statewide budget that creates jobs, creates infrastructure. And also it's a district up budget where requests come from our district rather than Olympia down. It's not about Olympia dictating what projects you have to do. It's about the public and the district contacting our offices and saying, hey, here's how you can help us be successful. Here's how you can help us create opportunities. And that's why I think the capital budget is an effective tool for economic development. Also, our Republican efforts have been great. It's an honor to serve with all 98 members in the State House of Representatives, but I'm proud to be one of 41 members in the House Republican Caucus. We may be in the minority, but geographically, we represent a lot of Washington State. And we have fought hard this session to serve and represent and bring voices to people from all over, all walks of life to the Capitol. I'm proud that for the first time in more than a decade, We convinced the majority party to fund the working families tax credit. That is a huge, huge accomplishment to give working families money back in their pockets. That's where it's best used. I'm also proud that we stood with our union members and workforce, tradespeople from across the state, in stopping legislation that would have killed their jobs. Too often, especially on the Environment and Energy Committee, we saw legislation that said that union workers, trades workers were going to be retrained and there would be wage replacement. Our workers don't want to hear that they're going to be out of a job. To me, that was code for you're fired. And we were able to stop some of that legislation. I'm also proud that we were able to stop most of the egregious bills attacking our Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms, which I know is very important to the 20th District and Southwest Washington.
What are your plans now that session is ending?
With session ending, I'm looking forward to spending some time with my family. I'm your state legislator, and I love being a state legislator. But I'm also a husband and father first. My children are 8 and 9 years old, and they're looking forward to seeing me, and I'm looking forward to seeing them and spending some time with them. But I'll also be busy in my community, volunteering. I love to volunteer, and I love what I do for a living outside of the legislature. I'm an attorney, and I love being a lawyer and serving my community. Also, I'm looking forward to learning more about what's important to my district, what's important to my neighbors and my community. It's interesting to hear from my community during the legislative session, but it's even more personal when people approach you outside of session, on the street, in the grocery store, and say, here's what's going on in my life. How can you help? I love helping people. And I want people to contact me. I want to hear from my constituents. I'm looking forward to getting out in the community and seeing those people, but you could also contact me by going to representativepeterabbarno.com. You can email me at peter.abbarno@ledge.wa.gov and contact me. I encourage people to contact my office anytime they have difficulties navigating through our state government, or if they have an idea for legislation. Some of the best ideas for legislation come from the district and community members. So if you have a question, a comment, or an idea, be sure to contact me. Again, that's representativepeterabbarno.com, or you can email me at peter.abbarno@ledge.wa.gov. And I just want to thank everyone for allowing me the honor of serving the 20th District. It has been a great year. It's been a difficult year, but it has definitely been an honor, and I'm proud to serve the 20th District.